Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over a proposed rules change here from the ATF. So unfortunately, it's more bad news out there for gun owners. So real quick and dirty, we're going to talk about the law as it currently stands now for trusts and NFA items. So currently, if you wish to purchase a NFA item, there's basically two ways to do it. So you can either apply to purchase that item, whether it be a suppressor, short barrel rifle, short barrel shotgun, whatever the case may be, that falls under the NFA, and you can do it as an individual. What that requires is paying a $200 tax stamp, waiting months for your application to go through, and when you send your application in, you need to submit fingerprints, photos, and have your form signed off by your chief law enforcement officer, saying that it's okay for you to own these items where you live. That's a kind of a questionable thing we'll get into here in just a second. But that's the basic process. You can also do it by filing as a trust, corporation, or some other legal entity that has the capability to act as a sort of person, a legal entity, if you will. So if you file with a trust, you just have to either pay your $200 tax stamp. Some things you can apply for online, some you still have to do in paper form, but you don't have to send in your fingerprint cards, your photos, or get a law enforcement officer to sign off on it. So those are the way it is now. The proposed rules change here, which are known as 41P, is going to do two things. So for an individual, it's going to get rid of the requirement to have the chief law enforcement officer sign off on it. However, you do have to notify them. We'll put some notes here below if you guys can see, I should say, the language of the law. What it's also going to do, though, is that if you are a member of a trust, it's going to change things a good bit. So the trust can have multiple entities to it. So that's a benefit because obviously sometimes if you're not home and somebody else has to possess the weapon that is the NFA item, that way they can legally possess it and not be having the item without you there. So that way it sort of covers everybody. It also allows people across state lines to have it. So if you move back and forth, that way you can have possession of the item in several places at once legally and still not be committing a crime. So a lot of trusts have multiple people on them for multiple reasons. So right now, the way the rule stands is that you're going to have to submit fingerprints and photos for everyone on the trust, and also send in the notification to your chief law enforcement officer for every person on the trust. I'm not sure how that's going to work out with different locations, but that is what it stands right now. So you're going to have to do both of those and fill out the regular standard firearms purchase form for everyone on your trust. Now, one question that immediately came up to me, not being a lawyer, but what about people who live in restrictive states, so like California, Massachusetts, New York, etc., where these items aren't prohibited? How would they fill that form out if they can't legally purchase it in their state? But the trust legally can if it's based in a different state. Not sure on the answer on that, so there's a few other specifics we're going to get into here as well, let you guys know what we're dealing with, and then what we can do about it. The entire rule change is about 240 pages long, so as of right now, we haven't had a chance to sort of read through it and digest it all, but there's a few other things that I want to point out. Number one, the rule is not in effect currently. So as of today, the beginning of January, as we're just seeing it now, it says it doesn't take effect for 180 days. So anything that's already in process is in process under the current laws. So good news there for those folks who are already waiting on their tax stamps for either their suppressors, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, destructive devices, whatever you may be waiting for. Additionally, a note on those of you that have trusts or corporations, the beneficiaries. So like for instance, some folks have their trust set up so that way if they pass away, their children are the beneficiaries of the items in the trust. If they're beneficiaries as of right now, as of what we know now, they do not have to submit fingerprints, photos, and all that stuff, background checks and everything like that for the NFA items. So that's sort of the quick and dirty of what we know about it right now. So we want to get into what we can do about it right now. Pretty much everything about this is bad news, but one thing that is good news is that it's not currently in effect. So we have that 180-day period before this actually becomes reality for us out there as gun owners here in America. So what we can do is notify our representatives, senators, local representatives, state representatives, etc., to put pressure on Congress to make sure this doesn't actually happen. So if you look back when they tried to ban 855, calling it armor piercing, people got really upset. Why? Because a lot of people in America have AR-15s, and it's a perfectly normal thing to want to use 855, which is a good quality ammunition that has a known quantity and known price in the market. So people really liked it. They were upset that they were talking about banning it, so they really got behind sending out letters, phone calls, etc. to their congressmen, and that stopped. Now contrast that when the ATF tried to do the exact same thing thing with 7.6, which was the round that is very commonly shot out of AK-74s. People did not get upset about it. The ATF did the same thing, and it went through, and now we don't have 7.6 being imported into the country. So it really shows the difference of the power that you, the people, have to change these things. So we need to contact our senators, whether it be by email, calling, writing a letter. I recommend you call or write a letter. Those tend to have more of an impact, but email's just fine if that's all you can do. We're going to put a link down below in the comment section so you guys can find out the contact information for your representatives and contact them and let them know that you do not want this to go through. Also, I recommend that everyone be very respectful, even if your congressman may be the kind of person that would support this type of legislation, or it's not really in the legislation, this type of rule. I always recommend that you are very respectful, letting them know your demands, because at the end of the day, we're all representing a community of like-minded people who want to ensure our constitutionally protected rights to keep and bear arms are maintained. So we're going to put all that information down below so you guys can contact them. We'll also put a link down to the ATF's website so you can see the bill in its entirety. I keep saying bill, it's not a bill, the rule in its entirety, and really thumb through it and see exactly what I'm saying here and see all the details behind it. Now, the ATF put out a press release today on their Facebook page, a couple different blurbs about how they want to present it, and they tried to spin it in a good light, but it's not a good thing, guys. We need to get this stopped and ensure that we still have the rights to keep and bear arms, as well as our NFA items, which are covered under that. Of course, we shouldn't have to go through the NFA nonsense that we do, but it's only going to get worse if this goes through. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, post below in the comment section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Get on the phone, write those letters, and we'll see you in the next video.